Oh, old friend, you are reliable and was comfortable to be with, but sadly, you must be replaced. Hey there, everybody, and welcome back to the Digital Paul Workshop. It is I, that cursor that loves to hide from you when you need it the most, Techno Meow Tinkerer. And today's kind of a little two-parter video. It's going to be the fact that I'm upgrading my mice or my mouse for my computer two ways. I'm replacing my old trackball mouse with a newer one that actually has a scroll wheel, but I am also going to give my old trackball mouse a upgrade in the sense of a facelift. And at the end, after I get done, I'll kind of give the comparison between the two. But what it is I have a Kensington trackball mouse I've been using. And one reason I ended up going with this one for a while back was because when I originally had my computer set up, I did not have much space for a mouse. It was kind of annoying always having to keep picking up and resetting it because of the limited space. And there was also issues I have with some of these mice. And let me explain why I went with this particular one. The first thing is your standard mouse is I always would have an issue. The cable eventually start wearing down, and if you move it just right, you lose connection. And I know some people say, well, why don't you use a USB wireless mouse? I don't want to use that because I don't want to have to keep up with batteries. I have enough where I barely keep batteries around for the remotes from my satellite and VCR and DVD player and TV and stuff like that. I don't want to have to keep a battery, have to keep charging. It dies on me right when I need it. I want to keep something reliable. I'm not one of those people that I have to have a clean desktop with no wires showing. I'm not one of those. I want something that's USB connected, that's powered when the computer's powered. And I wanted something that could work in a limited space. I did. I have. And so that's one reason I went with the trackball mouse. Now, I kind of played around with the idea of looking at different ones, and I ended up selling on this one from the Kensington called the Orbit. And I actually kind of like it, and I'm kind of going to get into when I compare the two later on. But the only downside I really had with this was the scroll wheel, and so I had to have one hand, my left hand usually over on the page up and page down on some stuff, arrow keys and stuff. And so I finally broke down. I've been wanting one for a while. I bought one with a scroll wheel. And of course, one reason why I ended up buying it now is because of getting a little cash back on some of the sites I'm on. But that's a totally different story. But we're going to go first through the DIY upgrade facelift of my old Orbit before I start talking about my new one. And let's start the video. As you can see here, this one reason I like it is it feels pretty good. I'm honestly, this old one felt pretty good in hand. As you can see, the trackball is right where kind of that first knuckle right behind your fingernail is. So it felt pretty good where you have your your pinky and your thumb doing your right and left click. It did take some time to get used to doing it that way instead of using your index and your middle finger. And there's only just 3 screws holding this unit together, and some little tabs. I did have to sit there and kind of look and then use my flat blade to kind of help pry some of it apart. I know there's a special tool, and I think I might have one. I just don't remember where I put it. But yeah, right here's the little tabs, just help holding it in. And I originally wanted to do this upgrade of painting it, but I didn't want to do it when I first got it because I was afraid I might mess up something electronically. Now that I have a replacement, I was a little bit more, or I replaced it, I was a little bit more comfortable with wanting to paint it now. And most everything in this thing is just either a few little screws and a couple tabs holding everything in place. Now I'll tell you one thing: when you take the buttons out, they kind of have a cool shape. And if I was going to, I would love to actually keep this for another project. And I wish I had a way of making a mold of it before I could do it. Now what I'm doing here, sanding down, is a lot of your plastics, and I didn't know this when I painted my speakers a few years back, but a lot of plastics have a protective coating on it. And if you had saw earlier where my thumb set on the thing, you can kind of saw where it wore down. And I'm just using this to kind of mainly do a lot of major sand down. Now my dad's over there working on a project himself. If you see him in the background some. He broke one of the wooden spoons doing some work earlier, and he's gluing it back together. Oh, and we actually had a special guest to come. Here's a picture of it right now. A lunar moth was sitting on the clamps of the that was holding the wooden spoon together. So I thought that was kind of interesting. It's been a while since I've seen a lunar moth. So after sanding it down, I did use a smaller piece of sandpaper to kind of get into the slots, finer areas that the big one couldn't. But I put the white paint down, as I said before, to help. I think I might have said it before, to help things stand out. And here's a picture of my speakers. As you can see, I didn't paint them white first. I just went and paint them blue. So that's one reason why the blue is a little bit darker. But putting the white paint helps set it off. I did put a coat of clear gloss over it. That acted as a helpful protector. The one thing I probably should have done is I probably should have put some painter's tape over those tabs, because I did have them, the buttons kind of sticking in it when I first go to push them, and if it sits well, I'd push. Now it's kind of worn out, so it's not that way. Kind of put everything back together. I did have to kind of take it back apart later on, but I didn't bother recording that because I don't think some of the stuff set right. I know one of the tabs didn't fit in. I didn't fit one of the tabs in properly. But that's one thing about recording is I kind of can go back and see how things were. But this is just a simple, easy facelift I did. So if you do get a mouse and you don't like the color, you can kind of do it. Now I will say this paint job is not going to win me any awards. Yeah, it's not going to win me no awards. I think I've already scratched a little bit off. At least it looks like either I missed it or I missed the edge when I was painting. And you can kind of see it was a little dirty. I did clean up the mouse when I had parts of the gunk and trash that built up inside it. And now one thing about these optical mouse, you do have to take the ball off of this one and clean it. Now the new one, the ball doesn't seem to come out. It's made slightly different. That was one little sticky feet. That pad's supposed to keep it. It's missing one because it's been used. Clean it up some. Yep, there you go. And like I said, I like this one. To me, it feels good in my hand. It fits calm. Oh, no, I did miss that paint. I see the white spot now. So I did. Either I scratched it up when I was putting it back together, or I just somehow missed that. Anyway, like I said, it's not going to win me no awards, this painting. But hey, it gives me a little bit more character. As you can probably tell by my hair and my shirt, what my favorite color may be. But now let's go on into the review of the two mice. Now, like I said, the original Kensington Orbit I like. For the simple, and it took me a little while to get used to it because I wasn't used to left clicking with my pinky finger. But controlling the optical ball or the ball with my index is very comfortable because it's kind of right there, like underneath that knuckle. When you put your I got it sitting over here to the side of me. When you won't see me using, but when I put my hand rests nicely on this part, and it feels good. It feels comfortable to my hand. Where the ball, my finger lays on the ball, it makes it real easy to use. Now, the new one I got, the Kensington Orbit. I probably should say I'm not sponsored. I bought these with my own money. Kensington has not offered any money, but I would like Kensington probably to hear some of my feedback about this one. This one is not quite as comfortable, the scroll wheel. The little extension, as you can see here on this picture, it is hard. It makes it a little bit too long, it seems like, for the mouse to be usable. Either that or is it made for, it might be made to use your ring finger in your thumb, but I feel like I have to really stretch if I put my hand on that for my thumb to be used. It's not really comfortable, and if I take it off, it don't quite feel as comfortable in my hand as your non-scroll wheel version. And one thing is, if you don't have the extension on and you have it sitting in the palm of your hand, it puts the trackball right underneath that middle knuckle, which you can kind of use, but it feels like you're not having full range of motion of your finger because it's so closer to the palm of your hand that the distance travel. Whereas the other one, it was at the near the tip of the finger, so you had a lot more further travel. The overall base is slightly smaller, but the actual right and left buttons are pretty well close to being about the same in length on the two. I still use my index and my thumb real well. And it's nice having the scroll wheel works on the, as you would think with the middle finger, it works great. What's nice too is you can sometimes just take depending upon what you're doing, if you got to scroll down, you can or do a lot of scrolling, you can just lift your hand up and just hold your finger on and just roll around that trackball wheel and little scroll. So that is kind of a nice feature where you don't have to actually keep picking up your hands. You can kind of do a continuous scroll. But that's the main issue I kind of have, is that the base without the extension is a little too short for your hand to sit comfortably on and for your finger to be optimal use of the trackball. But other than that, I've used it for a few projects, used it for editing, used it for browsing. But that's about my really main only gripe is just that the trackball is a little too close to the palm of your hand if you're not using extension. And if you use the extension, it kind of is hard on the wrist. I use as you see in my original picture of my original orbit, I have a little cheap Dollar Tree wrist pad there. But this is both a slight review and an upgrade to my mice. One was replaced and got itself a facelift, while the other one it's not taking me too long to actually adapt to it. It took me a few days, but like I said, I'm kind of harping on the same thing over and over. Yeah. But anyway, if you like my content and you find the information I give useful and helpful, please like and subscribe and share this information with anyone you think might be interested. Have a nice day.